The digital math manipulative that I chose to work with was the fractions parts of a whole digital manipulative from the numbers and operations category of the pre-K to second grade section of the National Library of Virtual Manipulatives. And with this activity, students can take different wholes and partition them into 2, 3, 4, or more pieces. And I chose this one because from the UEN core, in the second grade mathematics core and the domain of geometry, then students should be able to partition circles and rectangles into 2, 3, or 4 equal shares, describe the shares using the words halves, thirds, half of, a third of, etc. to describe the whole as 2 halves, 3 thirds, 4 fourths. They should also recognize the equal shares of identical wholes need not have the same shape. And this game perfectly teaches that standard because students can see that as they take the different wholes, they can split them up into 1, 2, 3, or 4 pieces, and that it creates different sections, and that if the shape changes, that it still is the same. And how I would use this manipulative in my classroom, ideally, is I thought it would be a good activity to do in small groups, and give students cards that say halves, thirds, fourths, etc. Of a certain shape, and then in the groups they have to create the shape. And this would be good because it would also integrate the language that the core requires, but it would also, as students are creating these things, they would be able to practice the language as well as the content principles as they create halves, thirds, and fourths with the different wholes. And so as a group they would create it. Or if it was thought that maybe if I did this as a whole class, then I could use the same format of the cards, telling them to do thirds, fourths, or halves, and as they partition, as a class, I would have a student come up and partition the whole into that many pieces, and so that it can be shown on the board through the projector. And I would keep the rest of the class engaged by having them draw their how they would partition the shape, and they can compare their answer to the answer that is on the board. And so the whole class would be engaged, and it would still use this math manipulative in showing how to partition wholes into 2, 3, 4 pieces, or allow the kids to practice using words such as fourths, halves, and thirds.